Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another awesome episode. Good evening for me and good morning for my guest, actually. I'm your host, Charlie Shrem. You're listening to another epic episode of the Charlie Shrem Show powered by Waxman. We're together for 5 years now. We've enjoyed spending time together, dissecting, inner, storytelling and understanding this wild world of Bitcoin and crypto. And today we have two awesome guests. We have Holger Arians and we have Jackson Zhang. Holger, you're the CEO of Banxa, super cool company in based out of Australia. But really, you guys provide uh, all infrastructure, payments infrastructure for the whole crypto space, from companies like Binance to Edge to KuCoin. When you offer the ability to do things like pay by Apple Pay, certain types of like debit cards, bank transfers. You are like the de facto one of the largest now on and off ramps globally for people moving money in and out of the space. And Jackson, you guys offer a bespoke VIP experience. You guys are the world's premier cryptocurrency brokerage, Caleb and Brown. You were the first employee actually at Caleb and Brown, and now you guys serve over 22,000 clients across more than 100 countries. It's super cool because what you guys do is actually how I first started trading, like doing OTC. It's like that chat experience, having like a broker that you can talk to and understand, like, you want to have that, like, especially sometimes when you're buying large blocks of certain crypto projects or whatever. You're also on the board of Blockchain Australia. Uh, how are you guys feeling today? How are you guys feeling about the global crypto, industry, where we are right now, like exactly halfway into 2023?
Jackson,
Holger,
you
would
go
you like
first,
to
mate.
go ahead?
Look, I'm feeling good. Like you guys, I've been in this for almost 10 years now. You've been long in this even. It's never been that good. And I'm very optimistic here. It's challenging and it changes every day. We just spoke about that. But overall, if you zoom out, it's great. It's so many amazing opportunities, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet. It's a very challenging space in terms of regulation, obviously, and it's important. We need more mainstream adoption. We need better user experience. We need more trust
Yeah.
and all that. But look, overall, I'm super excited, and we had much more challenging times in the past when crypto was more in a dark corner of the internet and there was no real use case for it other than maybe speculation. Today we are much broader, and it's exciting for me.
That's a very good point. You've been around since 2014, and Jackson, I want to hear how you're feeling too. But it was a lot harder back then. There were no real use cases for crypto back then. But Jackson, how are you feeling? Kind of like going into the halfway point of the year now, a little bit more into it.
Yeah, I'm glad we went the optimistic route, Holger, because I like to be an optimist as well. And I agree. I think it's the best it's ever been, right? When we first started in the space, we would spend probably the first 80% of the conversation just explaining what crypto is. Nobody does that anymore. We go
Yeah.
straight into explaining what our businesses do, how we provide value for the industry, how we help our customers. So I'm feeling good about the space. I think definitely this year now, we have moved from like a reason to actually be negative, a reason to actually be concerned or panicking, to now it's maybe we're just slightly frustrated that progress is not happening as fast as it could be. But I think the direction is getting better, right? So I'm an optimist, and I think we're seeing a lot of good developments starting to take place as a result of the lessons we learned last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that you see BlackRock filing an ETF, and I keep the exciting things to me are happening on like such a small level, but really these things are happening on a global level. I see my friends in Dubai and Australia, traveling all over the world in these large groups. Um, I was talking to someone, and he was like, "Do you know how many people around the world get paid in USDT now? It's like millions, millions of people around the world. understand is USDT is like all of a sudden crypto has given them the ability to have stable income where before they'd have to make money in their like local currency that just it's not even about just like earning the money and put into your bank account and hoping it doesn't. It's like just knowing how much you're going to earn on a weekly basis. And you service a lot of those people. You guys both service a lot of those people. It's not just like speculating. It's we've definitely, especially in Australia, when you have a huge amount of remittance money coming in and out. I mean, it's definitely really exciting. Why has I would love to hear both your answers, but why has like crypto adoption leapfrog so much in Australia versus like the US? Does it come from like a regulatory or is it more of like an Australian attitude do you think there is? Jackson, what do
Um,
you think?
yeah, go ahead.
So this would be a cultural speculation. I'm not sure I have the statistics to
I
back this,
love
but
cultural speculation is what we do. It's like my other show, Cultural Speculation with Charlie Shrem.
we
Shouldn't be.
have
No, I'm joking.
we so we have in Australia a tendency to invest more in the property market, the real estate market, than the equities market. And when the Australians got access to a global crypto market, I think it was a lot more interesting to them because historically, the equities market in Australia tends to underperform the US. So, so
Interesting.
we mostly have people invest in real estate, right? And the Australian dream is described as owning your own home. And we also have a lot of immigration in Australia. So I come from a immigrant family. I'm first generation Australian. So we have this joke, which is as an Australian, your Australian dream is to own your own home. And as a Chinese person, the Chinese dream is to own your own home in Australia. So, so
Very
there's
interesting.
a focus. There's a heavy focus on um, it's wealth accumulation, but it's also about protecting your assets. And there is a recognition of diversification or being dislocated from any risks that may be associated to um, your government, right? So that's why that's why Chinese um, immigrate overseas. That's why they go to the US, they go to Canada, they go to the UK, they go to Australia. They inherently understand this. It's part of the culture, um, and uh, that's my speculation on why there's excitement about crypto in Australia.
Great answer, Jackson. Look, my view on top of that, I think that is very accurate. Is whenever you travel, you find an Australian somewhere. The Australians they're explorers. They're trying new things, and you find many brands, international brands, trialing their products in Australia.
Yeah, you do
And
see that.
I feel that Australians are just happy to try out new things, and crypto is one of these things because it has this amazing appeal, all these different use cases, and like Jackson said, in Australia the property industry is large, but also the financial services industry. So you have many people that are very savvy with their money, and crypto is just an alternative, and people get it, and they're Australians also like horse racing. So they're doing stuff with their money, and that is certainly helping with adoption.
How did you get involved in the space? You've been doing this since 2014, so like almost 10 years now.
Yeah, look, my co-founder Dominic, he ordered some black boxes. He said they're Bitcoin miners. For me, they were just black boxes. Ordered them to the office, and back then we were in a 6-story building. We just had one floor, and we had this little room where we had these Bitcoin miners. They create a lot of heat, so we had this massive fan, and it was summer, and the air conditioning was going, and it was a wild time. And a few times a day, the whole building would basically have a power outage. So we're really learning by doing. Obviously, nobody knew why the power was out and why the electricity costs went up for this building. But it was learning by doing, and we got into it, and we're just super excited. So we had all these Bitcoins and eventually just sold them. We sort of broke it down for Australians to get their hands on crypto. And that was almost 10 years ago, and it was very innovative. And but again, we're running in so many challenges, and some of those challenges we're still running into today, which we'll probably touch on later.
Were you mining? Were you mining Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember like the details? Like I remember I was mining on that an ASIC, that the first ASIC I think, and it was like crazy amount of Bitcoin a day. I forgot, it was like maybe 15 or 20 Bitcoin a day. But Bitcoin was only worth a couple of $100. So that was still a large amount of money. Like I was making like $8,000 a day, which no single miner makes that much money. Like you have to scale, your mining. So we were running it for days and days and days. And I just don't remember. I guess when you're living history, you don't realize, you don't like say like, let me save these things. Like, let me save this piece of paper. Let me, people like, Charlie, can I buy your old Bitcoin license plate? I was like, I never thought to save my license plate. You don't think to like do these things. So like definitely industry is changed so much probably in 10 years. Like, it's definitely matured so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's come a super long way, and with time, so many more people and bright minds entered the space, and we're really seeing these amazing use cases now coming out of that. And Bitcoin mining is still a thing; it's still amazing, but compared to 10 years ago, it's just mind blowing what is possible, and we're just starting again.
So where does Banxa fit now? You guys are like this back end infrastructure, so exchanges and Bitcoin companies and crypto companies don't have to deal with like connecting with traditional people's bank accounts and payment systems. It's like kind of like the back end rails there.
Yeah, that's right. So it's basically B2B2C. So we're embedded in the big platforms, the MetaMask, the Binances. So if you want to buy crypto wherever you are in the world through these platforms, you click on buy crypto and you have Banxa there as an option. You get redirected
Actually,
to us.
yeah, I used you the other day. I'm not even knowing that we were having a podcast. I promise.
Oh, that's nice.
I was buying some crypto, and you were the second option. The first option was one that I had already known and used, but that always leads me to a dead end because it's like a long process. But yours was like really quick. I
I'm
would
glad.
love
I'm glad.
if these apps told you when you could withdraw. Because sometimes people don't want to buy Bitcoin and leave it in that wallet. They want to use it for something. Like if I'm playing online poker, how do I get Bitcoin instantly? My company BitInstant was the only way that I knew. Now you have to go to a Bitcoin ATM or a crypto ATM or something, or use Jackson's company. You got to use text your broker and say, "Give me some Bitcoin right now," right?
Yeah, with banks, we send it pretty much immediately. If
Amazing.
your KYC check goes through right away and all that sort of stuff, we do all the fraud checks. We're regulated. So if the service we're doing is regulated, and that's why we're doing it and not the exchanges necessarily at this point. And we're local. We have local payments. So if you're in the US, we obviously have wire and ACH. In a country like the Netherlands, we have Interact, which is a bank-to-bank transfer, and
Yeah.
90% of e-commerce happens through these bank-to-bank transfers. And the big advantage is the conversion rate of that payment is 100%. If you send something bank to bank, it always goes through. But with a credit card, it's like 20% conversion rate because it's a high-risk merchant category. And that's where it just bounces. And that's why we are mostly local. If you are local, if you have the local bank transfer, you need to have a license or be regulated. So we're doing that, and it's obviously the long road, but it's what eventually is valuable and mostly to the customer because they just want their crypto, like you said, and they want it now.
It's exactly the truth. The truth. Jackson, tell me about Caleb and Brown in the story. You were the first employee and now running the shop.
Yeah, so Caleb and Brown, put simply, is a crypto brokerage that assigns a relationship manager to every single customer, right? So every client, when you're engaging with the business, you're talking to the same person. We have a platform as well. So if you want to go the digital route, you can do that. But the crucial thing is that you have one person who looks after your account, looks after your portfolio, understands not just where your assets are, but also where your knowledge is at. So for newcomers in the space, there are about 1 million ways to make mistakes in crypto. And then for the experience, there's a lot of leverage you can get, and the good kind of leverage from speaking with peers dedicated to keeping up with recent developments. So, there was a period of time when DeFi was a new term, right? So we are the people who are explaining, hey, what's this up and coming sector within the industry?
What do people want to learn now?
These days, there's recently there was zero knowledge EVMs, right? So that just to the newcomer, that's just a bunch of letters, ZK EVM. Thank you. And before that, like there was, what's we like layer 1 and layer 2. That's kind of like a maybe 2-year-old term. ZK EVM it's like it's actually a lot older, but in terms of the public knowing about it, it's maybe only a few months, right? So we get to talk about the benefits.
ZK EVM is an EVM chain that's fully compatible with like a rollups. Is that
correct?
The definition?
So it's a
I passed the test.
So Ethereum Virtual Machine is EVM. Basically, to put
that we know, the listeners know that.
Oh, fantastic! Good. So it's useful because it's interoperable with the language that everyone speaks, and the ZK part is the zero knowledge part. So it's about a lot. It's about better composability. It's about better compression. It's basically the other route of rollups. You can have optimistic rollups, and you can have zero knowledge rollups. So there are a lot of like new things, right? And our job is to understand the new things and then break it down for you and help you understand it.
Why are Telegram bots blowing up then right now? It's crazy. Like Unibot.
I'm not sure about this.
It's like Telegram trading bots. They're like decentralized it's like imagine Uniswap but in a Telegram bot that's open source that the token holder gets rewarded as like I don't know, it's been like gets rewarded by like global transaction fees. So it's like instead of having to like, when you hit MetaMask and you like hit get quote, and you're getting a quote and it's pulling in from like all the different decentralized exchanges and aggregators and everything the best quote where the best liquidity is, the bot just does it for you. Like you just say, hey, trade this for this, and you keep your crypto in your own wallet. I don't know. I haven't tried or played with them, but the listeners are sending it in and people are really interested, and Unibot like went crazy in price. So I guess that's what I'm still seeing a lot of people wanting to understand roll-ups and how they affect, and also we're seeing a lot of like Bitcoin sidechainy stuff that's really popular too.
Yeah, that's right. So the really exciting thing about rollups is that it gives crypto the opportunity to catch up to fintech in user experience. And the way I like to think about fintech is things are given a name mostly because it is opposite to the previous thing that you would expect it to be described by. So we think of banks, that's the kind of financial, it's a business that gives us the services around our finances. Now, you would normally expect that all the functions you associate with fintech to just be done by banks. But it doesn't get done by banks. So we have to invent a new terminology and say, this is fintech because they're better at technology than the banks are. So what ends up happening is the cumbersome nature of banks prevents them from innovating rapidly. So that kind of gets developed in the fintech world. And then, if there's a successful one, maybe they get acquired in.
Sure.
In crypto, we have been built in natively in a manner that is the same as how fintech develops their technology, which is interoperable with everything. It's API based. Fintech is API based, but crypto is smart contract based. It's interoperability based. So the way you think about fintech being the application layer of banks, crypto has that whole built in a single stack. and dApps are the application layer of your private keys. So the the exciting thing about rollups is that we get to solve some of the scalability issues that have been preventing us from catching up to some of the user experience
It's true.
advantages.
It's true because, you know, we're supposed to be able to do like instant transactions, instant data, and if we're relying on data to be kept on chain too, we need to be able to pull that data, and if things can't be instant. But what's cool about rollups is the way it kind of like breaks up when things are settled on the main, you know, on the main chain when it needs to be settled. You know, some things can be settled a lot faster and shorter, and they have different situations. But uh, it kind of like gave me like a funny reminder that when I was running my company similar to yours, Holger, uh, I was dealing with a lot of like fraud and stuff like that. Do you have any? How do you deal with that? Because once people are in crypto, then they're good. You don't have to deal with, you know, the reversibility of that. But getting people into it, you're like on the front lines dealing with like the army.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I answer this directly, I think this is also blown out of proportion, this whole fraud piece. And banks like to use that as an
They
excuse
do. It's so
that,
stupid.
right? And it's, you know, just compare the actual fraud, the actual money laundering, and everything bad in crypto to what's happening in the real world, in the traditional world,
Oh my God.
with organizations that are 1,000 times bigger than ours and that still fail to you know, comply and detect. So the way we're dealing with it, Charlie, it's experience, 10 years in this space. We've seen a lot. Like back in 2015, we've seen entire Expedia.com websites rebuilt because Expedia announced that they're now accepting Bitcoin for flights. Don't
Oh
remember
yeah.
if yeah, that they
I
were one of
used
the
it.
first.
I missed that.
And you know, the scammers would just copy that website, and people were buying flights to from Australia to New York for $200, and obviously that doesn't
Oh,
work.
so that's what was happening. That's why they got rid of it because it was like people are creating fraud and stuff like that around it. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the scammers are always a step ahead, and there are so many opportunities,
Oh
right? But
man.
experience just helps, with this whole piece. And over the last 10 years, we've really developed software on it. It's our own technology, but then we're just using the best of the market as well that, many crypto companies are using. And there's so much shared, intelligence that we are now using, and we are working very closely with law enforcement as well. So overall, we have a really good grip on it. I think there are great tools like Chainalysis and all that sort of stuff that really helps.
You probably have created some like internal immediate scoring mechanism for knowing if someone's like low, medium, or high at risk. I wonder if you could like somehow open source that too. I don't know. I'm always thinking how companies can share data down the road, like it's
Yeah.
the proprietary data that you create that you want to hold it for yourself, but let other people have access to it and get charged. I
Yeah.
think that's the future of data in crypto. I don't know. That's cool. My friend has a similar like type of data. They run like a Bitcoin ATM company, so they have like real time data of like people buying crypto. I'm like, you should open that data, let people pay for. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But that's really interesting. Like you have to develop that. And I didn't know you shared some new information. I always wondered why Expedia, but I realize that now because I actually bought a flight, paid in Bitcoin from a site that was ended up being a scam site. It was like a little too good to be true, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you're, you know, you're experienced and conscious of the space and everything. Just think about, you know, my mom when she buys something on Amazon, cross fingers that it's Amazon on the other side. And it's just scammers are getting very
Crazy.
sophisticated even in the real world. And but again, the extent of that part of the space is absolutely tiny compared to what's happening outside of this in the traditional
Yeah,
industry.
that's just
That
nothing. Well, speaking of
but
which,
the
oh, sorry, no, continue.
No, I just think the media attention around it. In mainstream media, the negative news are always, surfacing. And you go on CoinDesk and you see nine out of 10 positive news, right? And then mainstream news every other week, you get, a scam here and there. And it's just sad. And that happened 10 years ago, still happening.
They don't. It's not just us, the readers. It's the journalists too. My friend was a journalist at one of these major papers, and she like literally walked off as an anchor one day, and she's like, "I can't talk about depressing news anymore." Then she started this like nonprofit news company called No Blues News because it's supposed to be news that's no blue. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great idea because I'm like, so the mainstream media they have nothing else to write about. It's all negative, all the time. But do you guys go to like meetups a lot together and stuff like that? Do you see like what's the they opened up a Bitcoin club here in my town in Sarasota, Florida. It's Bitcoin Ben's crypto club. It's crazy with 10 years its industry is it's insane.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. This is a funny story actually. So, Melbourne's a really small place. So Holger and I, we work in the same building now, but even before that, I think like maybe 7 years before that was the first time I met Holger. Um, the first time I was looking for a job in the crypto industry, and there were like basically two companies hiring at the time, and one of them was in the building that this company was in. But no, we've been in the space for a long time, and we go to the meetups together. And then eventually, last year, we said, look, there's a whole bunch of crypto founders and crypto entrepreneurs that have gathered up a lot of experience in the industry. We've figured out how to get around the challenges. Why don't we start a incubator and a Web3 fund together?
Oh,
And
very
we
cool.
built something called Upside DAO. It's a play on upside down,
Yeah.
being in Australia. Um,
I
so
love that.
so in our building on another floor, there's now a community hub where um, startups can join and be a part of and be able to access crypto founders and CEOs and consultants in the space that can really help them get their project built out.
Tell me more about the Upside Down. I'm on your website and this is awesome. This is so cool.
Yeah, Holger, do you want to share a bit about it?
Yeah, Holger,
Yeah,
tell me,
totally.
please.
Look,
This
it
is
all.
really cool. I'm like browsing the website as you're talking.
I mean, you know how crypto is all about community, right? And that's what I love. And like Jackson said, Melbourne is a small place, and everyone knows each other, especially in crypto. And we're sharing the same war stories, and we've all been debanked over time and lost bank accounts and
Yeah,
all that sort of stuff.
you can say that again.
So we're we're just we came together and said, hey, we sort of need to formally support each other. And
I love
Australia's been
this.
punching way above its weight. You have synthetics, you have illuvium, you have immutable X, you have Cullinan Brown and Banxa coming out of Australia, and many other great companies. And the sort of first generation crypto founders, they've just come together and said, hey, we all get sort of um, deals that we could invest in. And let's just put some money together. So we raised some money, but also because it's all about community, let's have a floor in our building. It's 700 square meters where, like Jackson said, like I think there are now 40 different people
Wow.
working on their projects. We have the crypto lawyers, the accountants. So it's a real little ecosystem, a hub for anyone who wants to do something in crypto, even if government eventually wants to know something, or the banks want to dabble a little bit, they could come there and learn.
It's really important because if you have any real business in any industry, at some point, your bank or who you're raising money from, your investors, your insurance company, are going to want to come to your office and see what you have going on. And if they can come to a place like this, if I had a place like this, it would have been a lot easier in the early days if we had all come together. So that's really cool. I'm excited to see what it looks like next time I visit. I got to visit Australia now and come to the Upside Down.
Yeah, absolutely. You're very welcome, Charlie. That would be awesome.
What else tell me what else did I can we talk about right now? Like what else is really exciting cuz like the Upside Down got me really excited.
Well, we could talk about regulation. It's totally not exciting, but it's something that is just a hot topic these
I want to
days.
talk
And
about regulation.
Australia,
That's all we talk about
Australia's,
all the time.
I know, I know. No,
But Australia, why
actually,
is Australia like so positive about regulation? Like, why is it easier? Can we copy the same laws here in the US that you have in Australia?
it's an attitude thing, I would say. And Jackson can talk much better to this, but I think Australia has just allowed a very open space to develop. And Australia was quite early in April 2018 with some sort of regulation. And that was when um, the Transaction Monitoring Authority, AUSTRAC, was regulating the service, the digital currency exchanges. So every crypto company just registered as a cryptocurrency exchange, and they have to report transactions. It's a very light touch,
Hmm.
and it's been very collaborative. And right now there are a lot of discussions going on. There are consultation papers going around with the government, token mapping exercises by the government. So it's a very collaborative approach, and crypto companies were just able to thrive. But Jackson, you're much closer to it with your Blockchain Australia. I think you're on the board of Blockchain Australia or Industry Association as well.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to share a bit of color here. So, um, the I would absolutely credit the progress and the success in Australia to the attitude that our regulators have, or that government has, and that can vary depending on the agency. But the most successful example is, as Holger described, our AML regulator in Australia called AUSTRAC. It's a federal regulator, so we don't have separation by states. The process they went about
That makes it a lot
regulating,
easier too.
yeah, absolutely. Dealing with one is a lot better than dealing with 50. Um, so so their process was, let's find a industry association, which at the time, Blockchain Australia, non-for-profit industry association. The only focus is advocacy for blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin, anything in that space. Um, and they would run consultation sessions with associations who then bring industry members in. And by industry members, I mean companies. So there would be exchanges, there'd be crypto projects. Um, these days, there are some NFT projects, but everyone is basically given access to the table where we get to have a conversation with the regulator. The regulator comes in and says, look, we think this space should be regulated. Here are some potential rules that we think we should be introducing. What do you guys think about it? How would you actually implement these rules if we impose them upon you? That is a very crucial question. And they were willing to ask that question, right? So Blockchain Australia was able to support and get the feedback from all the members like, okay, if we had to comply with these rules, if we had to do KYC on our customers,
Sure.
if we have transaction monitoring, what are the systems in place that we need? Do we need to be able to speak to each other? Yes or no? Are there readily available industry solutions or like software that we can license to do these things? All these questions gets asked in a room where all the stakeholders are able to contribute their voice. Um, so that was successful in 2018. We hope that on the financial services side, we get the same thing. But there's progress there. We're looking at custody and exchange licensing in the next 12 months or so. But I would absolutely attribute the success to the willingness to have a dialogue with the industry.
I think
Oh,
the
and after that as
yeah.
well, even after AUSTRAC, I have to give credit to the regulators because everyone just like rags on them all the time. Even after implementing the new rules, every single year, AUSTRAC would invite the associations back in and have a roundtable and say, "Hey, how is everyone going? Here are the trends we're seeing. We're seeing maybe this type of fraud come up. How are we going to stamp it down together?" So it's an ongoing dialogue, and it's very collaborative. So I have to give credit to that, and hopefully we get to see more of that around the world.
It's almost like because the regulators don't have to worry about infighting with each other, that they can actually have time to regulate and provide guidance.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Shocker.
Yes. Makes me want to move to Australia.
Oh, it's a
Nice
nice place.
beaches.
It's nice.
Well, thanks guys. Thanks for taking the time and coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. It's been enlightening. It's been fun talking to you guys here in the Upside Down.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlie.
Charlie.
I'll see y'all later. Bye.